Good afternoon, everybody. Today I'm going to give you some insight on greasing the grease zerks, the 4 grease zerks found on your Exmark radius. The 2 up here on the caster wheels and the 2 back here on the blade pulley system. And the things you're going to need to do this: you're going to need a grease gun with some grease in it. Preferably with a flexible hose, that makes it a lot easier. You're going to need a ratchet, a 9/16 socket, ratchet extension, and a 9/16 wrench. Another thing that's going to be beneficial to you are some rags or paper towels to help wipe up the grease. Alright, so to get started here, I'm going to start on the right side caster wheel, and I'm going to wipe off all of this excess grease here on both sides. Alright, so now that I've got the majority of this cleaned off, I'm going to rotate this tire until, if this is how it's normally facing, then you can see this grease zerk down here is going to be on the left side of it. So I'm just going to rotate this back out how I had it so it's easy to get to. And we can rotate this wheel so that that grease zerk is pointing up and is easily accessible for us to get to with our grease gun. Alright, so now that you got that facing up, you can take your grease gun and attach it right to that grease zerk and start pumping. And pump until you see it start to come out of both sides. That's probably about 5 or 6 pumps for me on average. There you go, you can start to see it come out this side here. And I'm going to pump a couple more pumps past that, and we'll call it good. Alright, so after you clean up the mess here from both sides, you can move on to the left side and just repeat the same steps for that. Okay, so after you've completed the left side, go ahead and remove this cover here that covers up your spindles. Alright, so once you get there, go ahead and put your chute guard down and raise that pin up out of your selection and put it down as low as you can get it, which that'll be 1.5, and then go ahead and release your deck pedal. Okay, so now that your deck's at the lowest setting, you can get down here and look and see that grease zerk right there, and that is your 3rd grease point. Like the other 2 you've already done, go ahead and put your grease gun up to this zerk and lock that in place and pump it until it comes out both sides, which might take a lot of pumps depending on how long it's been overdue since you should have greased it. Okay, now for your final grease zerk that's underneath the mower, and probably the most difficult one to get to, is going to be right here on this. And if you look, get you guys a better angle, you can, I'll point to it. It's going to be hard for you guys to see, but it is right here. This sticking up right here is your final grease zerk. And if you can tell, I can barely fit my finger in between the distance between the engine plate here and this grease zerk. So there is no way that you're going to be able to get your grease gun up in here, no matter how flexible of a hose or anything you have, to hit this. So the only way I've found to do it is to remove this with your ratchet while you're up here holding it. with your wrench on this nut right here. So usually I just put my wrench on this right here, and it'll just kind of go up against the engine or on this side when you're tightening it, and you don't have to worry much about that. And then you take your 9/16 socket down here, right on this, and loosen it up, and then you can get to that grease zerk. Okay, so once you got that loose, you can see now there's enough room to get up in here with your grease gun and get right on this grease zerk, which you would not have had the space to do before. Now, once you've finished up under here, you can come back up top and start to thread this nut on down in here. Just kind of to keep that all down there secure. Then you can take your ratchet and wrench and get that tight how it should be. Alright, and that is all 4 grease zerks on the Exmark radius. So now that you have finished that, you can put everything back together. You can raise your deck back up, and I'll catch you in a second after I've done that. Alright, so make sure all your tools are out of the way. Make sure you're not leaving anything behind, underneath, anywhere. And once you are sure of that, we can hop on and start it up and ride it around for about 5 minutes. Do some turning and make sure these caster wheels are good and lubricated, you know, make them turn. And then you can also engage your PTO. I usually let that run for about 2 minutes if I'm not gonna mow or anything with it. Alright guys, so that's my video on greasing the 4 grease zerks on the Exmark radius. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about the mower or anything else regarding it. I'd be happy to do another video on an oil change or something if you guys are curious about that. But like I said, let me know if you got any questions. I hope this was informative and helpful for you guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks.